Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Collective. We have another outstanding show
You think?
from
We'll
Sigma
see. I'll
International.
decide.
Okay, you decide how good the show is going to be. No, it's a good day. I think we've had a number of guests through the week. It's always good to have a little chit chat, just you and I.
Oh, I like guests.
I know I like guests too, but
Yeah, don't even try to spin it into some weird lie. I want guests.
you're gonna love this week upcoming. I'm not gonna tell you who's all coming, but I
Okay.
got a
I know you
stacked
say that
week.
a lot, and I believe you, but that
Yeah,
doesn't change the fact that there's no guest today.
it's true.
So you can
Yeah.
create all kinds of straw man arguments. We can talk. Hey, is that a bluebird over there? I'm still looking at you saying there's no guests.
You are absolutely correct. That's just sometimes the way
And
it
then
is,
sometimes
unfortunately.
and then sometimes I continue the sentence with, you only had one job.
I did. I have a
And
number
then
of
I like to
jobs.
see where that goes.
Well, I have a number of jobs. One of them
Oh, do
being
you? Oh,
making
yeah.
sure people hit the like, making sure people subscribe, making sure people hit the notification bell.
That one takes no sweat.
Oh, it's still part of the job, I think. But there are a number of jobs that I have to do, and I'm not making excuses by any means because I failed to get a guest for today.
Yes.
100%.
Noted. Maybe we'll make the whole podcast about that. Let's drag this subject out a little bit more.
I mean, we could, but I have some
No, let's
comments, so I
not.
just want to make sure that Daniel, afternoon, another day with the collective, absolutely. Sach, good morning. Daniel says, "Hey, Sach, good to see." Patrick, greetings, indeed. Patrick, greetings. Yeah, before we get into anything, we go anywhere, do you have any thoughts, any questions, anything burning on your mind, or if there are any
I've already
people?
stated no guests. That's the only thing that's on my mind right now, literally.
He's got the stare.
I mean,
Yep.
literally.
I've honestly, I've been working my phone all morning, except for when I was working out, and then I've been working my phone since then. And yeah, today just did not pan out.
Was there
Unfortunately.
did you have someone lined up or no?
No, I just did, like, it was a hole in the schedule, and I've been trying to find some points for today for quite a while, and everybody's busy. People are away. No one has
Seems almost like hard to believe.
It's it's a Saturday. It's May. It's beautiful out. It's just before Mother's Day. A lot of people are going camping. A lot of people are going doing stuff.
And yet here I am.
And yet
And here you are.
we
And
are.
yet somehow it's possible.
It is possible. It's almost like it is a
It's almost
infinite
like I
universe of
heard
possibilities.
no excuses there.
I'm not making an excuse.
Okay, good.
I'm just stating what is. And that is that there is no one here other than us and the people watching, and I appreciate everybody here. So that's
Shaun is not happy.
That's okay. I'm okay with that. I was Satch, well, I didn't get a message. I actually stated in Shaun's live that there was an open spot. Shaun even read it out a couple of
I
times.
did.
So, I mean, if you want to jump on, I can shoot you an invite.
Satch, while you were talking about eating ice cream and sucking, I was talking about come and join us over on the collective out loud.
Perhaps somebody wasn't paying attention. I think maybe it was me. Because
am I the only one paying attention to we have no guests? Am I? Am I also the only one who understands that guests can show up? What is happening? Sach, did you send Sach an invite yet?
I'm in the middle of it right now.
Yes, you should be in the middle of it.
I'm hitting all the buttons
with 2 hands.
Well, I have a coffee in one hand.
That ain't speeding things up.
The benefit is I can actually do it all one-handed. So there you go,
dude. I'm gonna switch into skirmish mode, like lickety split here. Where
I'm good with it.
Like bananas.
Skirmish mode is fun.
Guest.
I enjoy it. It's coming.
Satch.
It's coming, Satch. There's an invite in your email if you would like to join us.
Good.
By all means. There you go. Okay, send me an invite.
And while I'm live organizing a guest, can we live organize another guest? If someone had a job to get guests, maybe we can help them.
Hey, if anybody, like I said, if anybody wants to jump on, I am more than happy to put your name on the guest list. This is, yeah, sometimes scheduling just doesn't coalesce the way you would like it to. And that is
happening. You just try a bit harder.
Indeed. And like I said, I've been working the phone all day.
Yeah.
All day. Okay. Yeah. And yesterday and the day before and the day before that and the day before that.
I feel like I've put enough enough heat on the subject for now.
I'm okay with it.
We'll cover it again in the green room.
Yes, we will. Indeed, there's gonna be a knife hand involved.
There'll be a knife hand.
No, it's good. I actually I did want to talk to you about something
Okay.
specific, but more so, well, the nuanced concept.
I do have to say this.
Okay.
I really have to say this before whatever we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Okay.
But I have to say this.
Okay.
The reason that I'm going so hard on this subject right now is because I don't look at statistics on the show other than casual observations.
Mhm.
And casual observations kind of go along like this. When Shaun and Chance are hanging out talking about things, it is not as awesome as when Shaun, Chance, and guests are hanging out talking about things. Because
You're
then
correct.
more eyes are on the objective. And the objective is to grow the potty so that more and more people can get to meet some of our awesome friends that are guests.
That is correct. You are absolutely
So that's
correct.
why I'm hyper focused on Chance Bros. Get us some freaking guests.
Hold on a second. Oh, look at that. Magic.
You're welcome, Chance.
I appreciate it. I do. Satch, what's up, man? How's it going?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm
How's the
healthy.
COVID?
Yeah, how's
Chance
the
is
COVID?
happy that you're here, so now I can take some of my heat and switch it off of him. I'm not going to heat you up, Satch,
Yeah,
because
I'm already hot,
you're in
man.
the coves.
I'm already hot, so there's no heating up happening.
How long you had it now?
I tested positive on Wednesday.
Okay, check. How you feeling?
No, it's running through me. I've been tracking it through my whoop strap. So Wednesday, I was in the red, and then I tested, and then progressively each day it's been getting better. So I'm in the yellow now, but I've been sleeping. I've been sleeping a ton.
Tired when you stand up and walk around? Are you tired or?
Yeah, there's a bit of fatigue. Yesterday, I had to get some stuff done around the house, so that took a bit of energy. But yeah, man, I slept probably a total of 10 hours overnight, and then 3 hours a nap yesterday, and then I slept 10 and a half hours last night, which is awesome.
Did you fall asleep with your tub of ice cream on your chest, or?
So listen, this is what. So I had so I don't get the tubs, man. I get the Ben and Jerry's. I like to get
whatever, man. Like, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying.
I'm
kind of sounds like you're judging.
Hey, listen, you can judge me all you want, man. I love that ice cream.
Yeah, I hear that. I love ice cream as well, buddy. It's when I say I'm judging you, it's not that I'm judging you harshly. I'm shedding a light on something that we can't kid ourselves about. But you contextualized it because you love ice cream, check. But you also earn your ice cream, and that is mega important to the conversation at hand, of course.
Yeah, I know for sure. In terms of earning my ice cream, I definitely do. I ran the half on Sunday. I mean, I haven't really had any ice cream for a few weeks, to be honest. So I've been training pretty hard, and I thought, you know what, why not have a little bit of ice cream when I can just sit and watch some TV? So I did that.
And by little, you mean 5 pints?
4.
Okay, so 4. That's way littler.
It's only a gallon.
Not in one sitting, though, guys. Not in one sitting. I haven't done that in a couple of years now. But I had a pint last night and a pint the night before.
You don't pound,
there were bathroom
breaks. Pound one out in one sitting?
I have. But not
easily.
Not recently.
No?
I used to be a fat boy, man. I used to after.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
After my late shifts, I'd be working gravies. I'd come home. I'd stop off at like Tim's and get like a dozen donuts and crush them.
Right. Not little Satch.
No.
No.
Big boy.
I don't even know if I could do a dozen donuts right now. I remember we had there was a bit of a competition rolling around when we were out in Massimgar, and they were trying to see who could eat the most Spunkmeyer muffins in one sitting. And it was like, could you eat a flat of them in a sitting? And I was sitting there going like, that doesn't seem that hard. I should be able to eat a flat of those, probably about an hour. No. I made it through about 6. I was into the 7th one, and I was like, my stomach was not happy with that. I don't think I could eat a dozen donuts.
This is interesting to me. So here's what I heard. Here's what I heard was that doesn't seem so hard. Whereas if as you were proposing that scenario, as you described it, this is what I thought. That sounds hard. Excellent. Whereas you thought, oh, that doesn't sound hard. I'm going to give it a try. Two way different mindsets and probably two way different outcomes.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in my experience, I know it's very difficult to have, like, let's say 2-3 pints or a dozen donuts. I make it happen. If it's going to be there, man, I'm going to crush the whole thing. So if I got a dozen donuts, I'm eating them all, even though like 8 in, I'm like, oh, this is not good, but I'll still get all 12.
Yeah, it's a challenge, man. Like, don't hit me with an easy challenge. It ain't a challenge. If someone says, "Hey, Shaun, can you walk across the street in a minute?" Dude, did you just say that to me? But if someone says, "Hey, Shaun, can you take a running leap to see if you can clear the entire street?" I'm gonna give it a go because it sounds like impossible, and it is. But I'm gonna give it a go. So if someone says, "Can you eat 24 donuts in 10 minutes?" and I think that sounds insane, I'm into it. But if it sounds too easy, I'm bypassing it all day long. So for me, challenges aren't challenges unless I think they're not doable. If someone says, "Hey, can you eat a dozen donuts in an hour?" and I think, yeah, probably, I'm getting up and walking away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I was wrong to begin with, so it was very difficult to eat.
Well, you were wrong.
The
Your
full size.
mindset was wrong to start with.
Mhm.
Like right from the get-go, within a split second, you'd already lost your challenge.
Interesting. The question I have then is,
I mean, did you think it was a challenge if you started your thought process with "that doesn't sound so hard"?
I think it was more of a, you know what I think now, thinking back on it, it was probably more of an insecurity and me wanting to put myself in a different light, I guess, to those surrounding me.
Dude,
You know what I mean?
I do, because I almost said it.
Yeah.
I almost asked you the leading question when you described, I was here, I was doing that, and the donuts, and I almost said this before I give my retort. Can you describe the scenario of how many of your peers were there watching you?
There was a bunch.
Oh, I bet there was.
Yeah. It was, and yeah, thinking about it, it was more along the lines of I was watching other people do it, and then I kind of inserted myself into the competition by saying, "Oh yeah, that doesn't seem that difficult. Let's do it." And
Have you ever tried a challenge without having anyone around?
Dude, that is such an insightful question.
I'd have to think about that, but I don't think so. I don't think I've ever.
I think that means, like, I mean, you can find a lot about yourself if you don't need anyone around to test yourself, right?
I don't need anybody around me to test myself. Back then, absolutely, I needed people around, because if there was no.
Hang on a sec.
If it was, go for it.
You just said something that isn't based in reality. You said that you don't do anything to test yourself by yourself, but you wouldn't have any problems testing yourself doing things by yourself.
I don't now.
So you're assuming that you wouldn't have any problems doing things out by yourself in the middle of nowhere that's really hard to test yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't know because you don't do it.
But there are things that I do.
Okay. What are they? Sorry, I wasn't sure.
When I go hunting by myself, it is a physical challenge to do everything that I'm doing. I'm hiking every day. I'm rucking every day. I'm wandering up and down the hills. Like it's a challenge. But I also, when I do take an animal, I have to manage it by myself. So
like once a year.
That's once a year, sure. Yeah.
And how many times have you done that in 10 years? How many years have you done that? Every year? 3 years?
For 4 or 5 years now.
4 or 5 years. So you've tested yourself 4 to 5 years in the last decade in absence of anyone else around you. We're all 4 to 5 trips by yourself.
Yep.
So you've had we'll call it a half dozen isolated tests of yourself in a decade.
Yeah, something like that, probably. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just paraphrasing what you're telling me.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm narrowing it down. And so here's what I think immediately. What the hell, man? To Sach's point.
No, I And another question, is the primary focus of that trip to hunt or to test yourself?
The focus is to hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, and I've talked about this before, is that I guess the concept, the one thing that I have done that's really challenged myself has been mental, not physical, right? Or I put myself in situations where I need to mentally work myself out of it. So this last 10 years has been me working through post-traumatic stress and all of the physiological issues therein. But the physical side of it, no, I've said it to Shaun many times before, is that I've failed in my conceptualization of it all because I've always been capable, right? The challenges that have been put in front of me have never been insurmountable. Like whatever is put in front of me, I've been able to complete it. So there's never been a drive to then seek out more.
So you never drive to see what you're capable of or what you can do or not do, like no drive to do that?
I'd say only in the last little while to actually see what I'm capable of. And I think that's been
What's the last little while?
Honestly, it's been probably since the Pegasus jump. Probably. Because that was the one thing that I really wanted to do, that I needed to push myself through, that I did. And it was more of a mental challenge than a physical one, obviously. But that was the last, I guess, big challenge other than hunting in the fall. And again, even then, that's thinking about it, not much of a challenge.
No, it isn't. I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to crush you, but
no, it's good.
It was totally bogus. So, the idea being that, and Sach is right on the money, you ain't testing yourself on the regular. And it isn't about testing yourself physically, though. Testing yourself physically is what tests your mind. The last time you went out, like you've probably seen some of my rides.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those rides are 10 out of 10s where I'm going cross-eyed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I do on the regular. At least every second day, I go full tilt. But people don't understand the intensity of effort that I put out, because I don't talk about it every single day. I don't show it every single day. But that's what I'm doing on the regular, because I'm testing my mind. I'm testing my spirit. I'm testing my warrior spirit. I know lots of dudes who've got t-shirts that say, I'm a freaking warrior. The last time they tested themselves was when they thought they were a warrior a long, long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you get a hat doesn't mean you hang on to the hat forever and you're still that. You got to keep testing yourself. You don't know what you're capable of at all. You think you've got capability, but that has to be tested. The only way to test it is to push your envelope. And the best way to test your envelope is in isolation, with no fanfare, no one there to cheer you on like you're a superhero. You got to go out there in absence of all the voices to listen to your own voices to start breaking them down.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a once-a-year thing, unless you have 12,000 lifetimes to work through your voices, which no one does. We only get one kick at the cat. Every day that you give up to not work in your head is a day that's gone that you don't get back. And then that day turns into a year, and then it's a decade. Then it's your life. And you're no further ahead as an individual, and you're no further ahead for the team around you. You got to be testing yourself all the time. Not you, Chance Bros, but all of us have to be testing ourselves on the regular. My form of testing, most people can't take that heat because I've been doing it a long, long time. But I started off as a baby in diapers. I didn't know how to do any of this, but I've tested myself so much since I've been on this trajectory that I'm used to the idea that, well, everyone tests themselves on the regular, right? So when I hear these kind of conversations, it's not that it infuriates me, and it's not that it saddens me. It disappoints me because you are sending out the wrong message to yourself and to everyone around you.
Now, there is,
whether you're doing it willingly or not.
That's
whether
a
you're
good point.
doing it like
That's a good point.
absence of any thought or
Yeah.
not, doesn't give you a hallway pass.
No.
You get to shrug your shoulders and say, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Or, oh, you're totally wrong. Whatever you think next is up to you. But it doesn't give you the hallway pass.
I remember a couple of years ago when I kind of started this whole running thing. On my 42nd birthday, I went for a run, and I was trying to go for 42 kilometers. And yeah, there was no one around or whatever. And it took me a long time because I was running from my town in South Surrey, White Rock, and I was trying to run to Richmond. It's about a 50K run. And I hadn't done it before, and it was first time attempting anything like this. And it was raining, and it was terrible out, and I was negotiating with myself the entire time. And then people start, like friends and family started messaging me saying, "Hey, where are you? Everything okay?" It was like 7-8 hours, man. It was a long period of time. And then my brother messaged me, and I don't have a great relationship with my brother, but he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, man, is everything okay? You need a lift? Do you need a ride?" And I was like, "No, I'm just testing myself. I want to see what I can do." And in that moment, that's exactly what I was doing. I wanted to see what I was capable of. I eventually made it, and I got it done. But that's a reminder for me, anyways, as we're talking here, that we can always test ourselves, and we should always try to.
Yeah, we should, and you did, but you did the same thing as Chance. You assigned it to a special date, a special hunting trip, a special thing. Testing ain't a special moment. It's got to be so regular that it's a non-moment.
That makes sense because it's part of the process.
I am not trying to diminish what you just said, Sach. As you were telling that story, I was thinking of a time where the first time I went on my quote unquote a long bike ride on my road bike when I first got it, way back in the day, I rode out for about an hour. I was like, I unclipped off my bike on the side of a highway out in Alberta and thought, I got nothing left. I can't go any further. I got to turn around and go back. How far did I go? And it was so embarrassingly short that I can't even remember how short it was, but it was short. And so I clipped back in, turned around, and basically limped back to the house thinking, wow, that was really super hard. But it wasn't a special day. It was just a day that I thought, I'm going to go see how far I can ride this stupid thing. And it wasn't very far.
But I think what's important about, let's say, for example, that special day, sure, it's a special day, whatever. But what I recognized in that moment was that I needed to test myself. So didn't just become a special day. Then I started reevaluating and reflecting on how to incorporate more of that on a regular basis. So,
yeah, that's important.
It started off as a special thing, I suppose, right? But after reflection, I realized that I needed to do more of that and to continue doing it. So I guess if you're, in the moment and thinking about it and not just kind of arbitrarily doing a thing, then I think it matters.
It does, and I agree with you, buddy. I'm not throwing your story. I'm not trying to diminish your story at all. I'm trying to draw the distinction that if anyone's listening to this right now and they think, you know what, I have been lazy. I haven't been testing myself, but I'm going to wait till my birthday 11 months from now. Or whatever stupid excuse to not go out and test themselves. Well, I mean, there's so many. My mother-in-law is coming into town, and I'll test myself when she leaves town. Whatever. Go do it now, every day, if you have to. Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
No, for sure, man. And so what ended up happening after reflecting on that, I continued to do it, right? As you mentioned, it's important to do so. I had COVID a couple of years ago. I had the Delta variant, and knocked me off my feet that time too. And I was supposed to go for a long run as I was planning to. I had scheduled myself to do a run while I was sick, but by doctor's orders, I didn't. But about a week after, I was like, let's get after it. I wanted to test myself. So a week after having the Delta variant, I ran 45K and just to see if I could do it and see if, in fact, the COVID was that much damaging on my lungs or whatever. And so I went through that process and tested myself there. So I think, yeah, it's important, man, to test yourself as much as you can, both mentally and physically.
For me, testing myself, the only time I'm not testing myself is if I quote unquote call it a recovery day. Like today, I'm going to title as my recovery day just because I'm kind of nucleared right now. And so for today, I'm not sure what I'll do. I'll try not to do anything to mega test myself, but I'll test myself in some way. I don't even know how yet, but it'll happen because there's not a freaking day on this planet that I'm not testing myself. What? Now I'm just attending life? I don't think so. That's not how I'm wired. That's not how you get better.
I think over a period of time of testing yourself, then I think you can get to the stage where you're at, right? Where you can kind of manipulate and manage certain types of things. I think if you're just starting out, you have to also kind of figure out how to properly test yourself and do don't damage yourself through the process as well, right? So like you can grind out every single day, run 30K every single day or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you got, I can't like, okay, sorry, go ahead. Let's see. I hear what you're
I agree, buddy, with the spirit of what you just said, except I've also stated out loud, and I'm not going to change my mind on this. Go break yourself. It's not that I don't care. I want you to break yourself. Go get broken. You know what? Go out for a run, get lost in a farmer's field, turn circles for a day and a half, get dehydrated, fall down, have a cry, cut your knee, limp back to the highway, hitch a ride back into town, and go have your first meal in 36 hours. Did you die? Nope. Did you break? Hopefully. Now you got something to work on. Now you've tested yourself. Here's what I think when I hear people testing themselves one time a year. It kind of runs along these lines. If you're only testing yourself once a year, you're lining up to the race called you show up clean, but you end the race cleaner. Because your 1.5 mile run, every 3 minutes, there's a volunteer handing out a moist towel. If you're testing yourself and you finish feeling fitter or fresher or better at the end of it than when you started, you didn't test yourself. I put a photo up this morning specifically for that reason. Did you see the head on me? I look like a half-wit. I look like I'd just come out of a lunatic asylum because
that's awesome.
I'd come out of a lunatic asylum called a hard 6-hour race with a broken ass bike and mega hot conditions and me racing for a podium. That's what that looks like. To me, competing is not attending. Attending isn't testing. Attending is just mouth breathing. If you're into seeing what you're about, you need to compete. And if you ain't competing hard, then are you even testing yourself? If you end a race feeling fresh, you didn't start the race. You need competition in order to adapt. It's precisely what I said in that post. Competition causes adaptation. If you're testing yourself once a year, how's that adaptation rate curve look like?
It's very slow. I think the only reason I progress somewhat quickly, even in jiu-jitsu and running, is because I always was testing myself. When I started jiu-jitsu, I was competing right away. I competed in every competition I can get into. And so I noticed when I started competing, I was getting better faster because I was trying to improve upon all the crappy stuff I was doing each time I was
That keeps it
competing.
legit.
Yeah, because I thought I was strong and all this, that, and the other, but you get onto the mat and, things change a little bit. So it was good to test myself like 7 months into starting jiu-jitsu and then continued the whole time.
Here's the thing, though. Competition isn't real life, right? Especially in jiu-jitsu, is that...
Say what?
Competition isn't
I'll let you handle this one, Shaun.
Yeah, so, it's not real life if you spend your whole life on the couch.
Well, no. What
life
I'm saying is
competition.
Okay. How so?
I'll let you continue your thoughts.
Okay. So competitors don't train all of jiu-jitsu, right? They don't continually train all. They really focus on 2 to 3 moves, perhaps, in a sequence to win, right? If you're going to be a competitor in jiu-jitsu,
get some water while you talk about this.
Okay. If you want to be a competitor and you want to win, you're going to find a line to take, and you're going to take that line. You're going to make sure that that line happens in order to win. That's how you compete in jiu-jitsu. That's how everybody I've ever seen who competes at a high level, they have like 3 or 4 moves in each step of the fight, and they will work those moves consistently over and over and over and over and over. And they'll do it 10,000 times. They'll do it 1,000,000 times. They'll do it 100,000 times. But there's still lots of other jiu-jitsu that they don't know or don't train as much or don't work on. So that's what I mean, is that it's not the competition isn't all of what life is. It is a focused portion of life for sure, but it's not all of it in my mind. Yes, no, I'm done. If you would like to respond to that.
So make your point clearly. Because you started off with a kind of a weird opening sentence. Just clear up your thoughts.
Those were my thoughts, for the fact that competition isn't all of life. It is
no, you said
a
competition
portion of
isn't life. And I disagree.
Okay. By all means.
Yeah. So you can't throw that sentence out if you've never competed enough to understand competition. And you haven't, Chance. Yeah. You simply haven't.
Sounds like an excuse to me not to compete.
It's 100% what it is. You can't call out something that you don't understand. You haven't done it enough. And 10 times isn't enough. 100 times isn't enough. If you ain't competing with yourself at least every second day, you can't even spell compete. Never mind if you haven't competed in plus of, I would call it, you need to be plus of 100 notable events to understand competition. And I'm not talking about your high school track competition. I'm talking about hardcore events. To be a competitor, you've got to compete on the regular, and then you've got to compete against other regular competitors. Otherwise, you can read the word, but you can't understand the word.
So then how can anybody be a competitor until they've competed multiple times?
By competing.
But what I mean is,
you
like,
aren't.
I'm not saying I am. I'm not saying I'm a competitor. I've said it many times before.
And if you were, you would understand what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is that if I wanted to get into the world of 24-hour mountain bike solo racing, right? If I wanted to get into the world that you were at the tip of the spear of, I won't be a competitor until I've attended so many races, right? But that means that I can't compete for so many races, which means that it's at no point am I like.
I'll use your donut example to clearly state who Chance Burles is as a competitor. That doesn't seem too hard.
Okay.
Now, a competitor looks at a problem and thinks, that's going to be hard, but I'm going to crush it. That's competition. It's a mindset. It's not an amount of times, but you've got to do it in an amount of times to understand the mindset. If you're asking me the question, how do you learn how to compete if you've never competed? You compete with the right mindset. And the more times you compete with the right mindset, the more you better understand the right mindset for competing, until you've done enough competing that you understand the mind required to compete.
Yeah, I've been competing in these races, half marathons, whatever these races are, and I suck at every single one of them. I get like close to middle to the last of the pack. But I'm competing every single time. I'm getting after it. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm not at the level of those guys who are winning, right? But I know what mindset's required to kind of get in there. So I don't know. I think competition is important, man, and I think it's super important to constantly test yourself and get after it every single time. I can't understand the way you think in that way. It's so foreign to my understanding that I just can't relate to it.
And I feel the same way. And it's fixable by changing your mind in respect to how you view competition. And then you start competing with yourself per week on something, whatever that is. Doesn't matter what it is. But if you aren't going cross-eyed at least once a week, you ain't competing. if you aren't questioning yourself at least every second day, man, this is nuts. Then you ain't competing. You're tending. That's for anyone who's listening, not for Chance Burles. That's straight up for everyone who's listening.
It is for me as well, for sure. But because I'm not doing that. I push myself up to, I guess, a point. I've never hit a wall. I
So
push.
that's the first
I
find your wall, bro. Find the wall, man.
So here's the thing.
Find the wall.
I push myself. I push myself till I physically can't do something. I've pushed myself till I've tasted metal in my mouth. I've pushed myself before into those points that you guys talk about, but I don't look at those. I don't see them as like walls. I don't see them as spots that are like I'm not looking back at them as a glorious memory of when I've achieved or failed. It's just
you were
it's
forced
another.
to do it at the time. It wasn't your decision to do it.
No, I mean even now after I've been out, it's not. I'm not talking about in the army. Like anytime that even in the army.
Well,
when
name
we
a
push
time, man. Like hunting isn't competing.
Okay.
Name a time.
Recently, you called me out for being a bit soft, so
Okay,
I jumped on the.
Name a time in the last 12 months where you've vomited.
Not since like when I was sick, but not from effort. No, I haven't. Not for many years actually.
Even when I was competing in bodybuilding, and we're going back like 20 years, man. Every single day, I was second guessing the way I was, how lean I was, how lean I wasn't. You'd have people that don't know a thing about competing in terms of bodybuilding. And you go to the gym, oh, you look amazing, you look great, this, that, and the other, but they don't know what's needed to get that lean and how ripped you actually have to be. So I'd have to always test myself and see how far I could get. And I've been doing that for 20 years, man. And the way it sounds, like you haven't done any of that.
Nope. I like I said, I've been capable. So, and when I say capable, I don't know whether like the definition of what you guys see as capable is obviously not what I see as capable, but when a issue has been put forward in front of me, I've completed it, and I've not thought that was difficult or challenging or it's just okay. I'll smash through it. But there's never been this drive in the back of my head that it's always like, because what it seems to me, it seems like it stems from a like a concept of I lost it. I had a thought and then it disappeared.
My thought was your last tournament that you were at, the jiu-jitsu tournament that you were at. How did you do?
I lost in the first round.
Okay, now did you want to do better next time you do? You think about it at all? How you lost and how to do better? Anything like that?
Yep. Yeah. I watched the tape.
Do you want to test yourself again next time by going into the theater of war, so to speak, to see how you do?
Yeah.
Let's do it, man.
I will, but it's not like I don't have this drive behind me. Like it sounds like you guys have a consistent overarching drive of continually like you just have to go after something.
Well, how do you get better at anything in life if you don't do that, man?
I just work at it.
But how? Like how do you get better at
practicing?
Practicing. By people giving you the armbar, by people giving you their neck, by people giving you the foot and leg. Like it doesn't work that way, man.
No,
but by competing against the same guys over and over again, like you can crush them every single time because you know who they are and their weaknesses and stuff. You got to test yourself against people that don't know you.
And I do that. I go to other gyms and I train with other people and I go to open mats and I just jump into the fray and I will roll and I will, see if what I'm capable of. And sometimes I win.
What was the intensity level like when you went to the tournament versus the open mats?
The open mats were more relaxed, but I rolled with the same level of intensity that I would at the tournament.
Oh, I did at the tournament. That's the problem.
Okay. How so?
Because the intensity level has to shift at a tournament. Like you got to be in the mindset of like competition, man. If you're at a tournament where you're not friends with the person, you're just trying to get after it. It's a different thing, man. I mean, if I'm wrong, jump in at any moment here, Shaun. I don't know if I'm talking out of my
You're not wrong. Not at all. I hear someone practicing versus competing.
Okay. But with practice, I will get better. right?
Yeah, sure. And you know what? If we sit around here and don't talk, the sun will rise tomorrow. There's lots of things that will happen.
Yeah.
Thoughts.
Also, here's another point,
I'm
man.
thinking about the sun rising right now. It ain't rising.
Here's another point, man. I haven't been on the mats in months. Like every now and then I might go on the mats once every month or so. Every single time I don't get smashed. I'm a blue belt, man, for 5 years. And I still don't get smashed, even though I haven't been putting mat time in, because I have the mindset to get in there and make sure that I do well. At least do the things that I need to. And if I get crushed, I get crushed. But it's not like the amount of times I'm on the mat, considering how the lack of training I'm doing and how well I do when I do jump in. It's a testament to the mindset, I think.
It's the testament to the rapid evolution of a human being. It's literally what I again stated this morning, forces adaptation, not shrug your shoulders and hope that I adapt. I'll take charge of my own adaptation. Thank you very much. By challenging myself as often as I can. Thank you very much. And so I ain't interested in getting put in the ground 6 feet under and not seeing what I could kick ass in. What's the point, man? What is the point? I might as well hand in the tickets to the ride if there's no ride left. Bring it. Whatever I do today that I'm going to challenge myself with, I won't be entering into it thinking, this shouldn't be too hard. Because that ain't a challenge. That's just life. Boring ass life that I need more of than just another day.
And full disclosure, I do have COVID, so if I'm being more of an ass today, it's because I'm tired and I'm run out. So sorry, man, if I'm being too rough.
No, it's all good, man. I'm listening. I'm absorbing. I'm picking up what you guys are throwing down, and I'm giving you authentically what it is, where I'm coming from, all my thoughts, because I want to be able to go back and forth, because I know there's lots of people out there like me who just sit there and go like, why? Right? Because you're asking me why wouldn't I do that? But I'm asking you, why would I do that? Because if I do want to, I want to enjoy life, right? You guys want to enjoy life. You guys enjoy the competition. You guys enjoy all the drive and the testing yourself and all those things. And there's lots of people that don't. Lots of people that don't enjoy that at all.
Because they haven't done it.
Just like you, Chance. You think you don't enjoy it.
I'm not saying I don't enjoy it.
Bro,
no, you don't even know.
That
is precisely the point. You don't know. Once a year is not, And yes, you do represent a chunk of the demographic that isn't in the game testing themselves. And that's why I'm pushing back hard, not on Chance Burles, but on everyone who I've tried to say it a bunch of different ways, because there's a bunch of people who will hear this and they'll Chance Burles it with, but I don't need to spell competition. Or I know how to spell competition. I'm Mr. Competition. Lots of thoughts go through lots of people's heads, but those aren't actions. Actions are along this line. At least every second day I'm testing myself. That's an action. And that is historically backed, not an imaginary thought that I wish I would have so many years ago. It's a body of work that I've obligated myself to. Whether I like to compete or not is nobody's business. What is my business is testing myself.
And I think for me, sometimes it gets a little frustrating, scrolling through social media and everyone's talking about a David Goggins or a Jocko Willink, or they're listening to this podcast or doing this thing, but they don't ever take any action whatsoever. They're talking about they want to, I don't know, man. So much about chirping, and it's like nothing about like actually doing anything. And we can listen to every single Jocko Willink podcast, but never take any action to do anything, or listen to or read every book about David Goggins or whoever else, and no one ever does anything. If 50% of the people that listen to half the stuff and did the things that they're saying, it'd be a lot different.
I agree.
Sure.
There's a lot of people out there that think the work is sitting on their ass listening to someone talk about work. It's really frustrating.
I don't listen to any Jocko Willink podcast because I'm outside fucking doing things.
Now, Well, here's the thing. And like, I still listen to Jocko. That's great. And I still do stuff. I'm not going to the extremes like you guys are saying, and absolutely I'm not. But I'm still doing
You call
stuff.
it extremes.
Well, it is an extreme, right?
No, it isn't extremes.
Well, you're going to the. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
It is an extreme. It is an extreme what I do. It's only extreme to you because you don't do it. If you tested yourself hard every second day, you'd drop the word extreme out of your conversation because it's now normal. What I do looks extreme maybe to some people. To me, it's normal. Living an extreme life is normal to me, I suppose, through the eyes of some other people. But it ain't that extreme. I ain't that fast. I ain't that hard. I ain't that good. I've talked about how fast I can ride up a hill. I've raced against people who will lap me in races, like the legit hardcore pros. We've got a guy in Canada called Corey Wallace. He's a multiple-time world champion 24-hour solo mountain bike racer. He stayed at our house. That guy would pass me so fast, I wouldn't even recognize who it is. There's levels to the game, but the only way to know the game is to get in the game. And if you ain't in the game, if you ain't competing, now you're mouth breathing, as far as I'm concerned.
What I mean when I say extreme is, like, it's not that I see you as an extreme, but what I'm saying is that you are seeking your extreme, right? You want in the actual sense of the term of like an extremity, right? You're going to the edge of something. And so,
I want to know my envelope, my performance
that's what I mean,
envelope.
Is that's what you're seeking, is that extreme of yourself.
So why don't you?
It's a good question. Because I remember, sorry, I'll let you answer that.
You go ahead, man. I got to think about it. So
don't give Chance Burles time to get off that hot seat.
No, because I'm going to say something.
He set up his own question.
Even higher, man. So,
dude, let him answer. He set up his own question.
I couldn't tell you right now why I don't. I honestly couldn't. I have to think about it.
Well, so build on that. Why haven't you? Is literally what this entire conversation is about.
I have never seen, I guess, the benefit of it. Let's put it that way.
To see your full potential.
I've never seen it. I've never been surrounded by it. All the people that I've, like, my entire life that I've been surrounded by, up until just recently when I've started hanging around hard chargers, was, you just work. Like, there's no, there was never any.
Now that you've seen it, now that you're newly surrounded by it, you just keep thinking, what? Oh, this is new. People test their performance envelopes. Seems interesting. It's like a zoo. Look at the animals testing themselves. I'm in a cool zoo. Did you never think you were in the zoo?
No. So
you're in it, man.
Well, this is I used to think, now let me put it this way, because
by used to, you mean like what, as of 30 seconds ago, or days, or weeks, or years ago?
Like,
what? Clean it up. What?
So for many years, up until just recently, last year or so, I remember looking at people who were, as I looked at, extreme, right? You look at the Tip the Spear, the David Goggins of the world, and so on and so forth, and you go, they can't sit down because they're always competing. They're always trying to push themselves. They're always trying to do the next thing, blah, blah, blah. But they can't sit down. They can't enjoy sitting down because they say they can't sit down.
Okay,
they say that they can't. Like,
you say a lot of things aren't true too, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and here I am standing still.
Exactly. But now I'm just trying to explain them the mindset of what I used to look at it this way. So I used to see it as someone doing something extreme because they can't sit down, because they can't stop. And the concept of being able to stop and look around and be thankful for, have gratitude for what you have, I saw it as lacking, when I know it's not now. But at the time, I was seeing it as they can't actually stop and see what is around them. They just,
Okay, that's
they'll
established. So
and
that's
kind
what
of
you
like
used to
vibrate.
think.
And that's what I used to think.
Yes.
Nowadays, I see it much differently. And I mean, talking to some of the people here on the collective and talking to yourself and like all the people that I have had the opportunity now to see work in that manner, I see it now as a pursuit. It's not a like I can't not move. It is now I am going to continue to move because I don't want to stop. If that makes
No,
sense.
yeah, it does. And I think like it's I was watching you on the collective the other day talking about why you started Tools for the Toolbox.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning you started it to help yourself find tools so you can implement them in your own life so you can be better, right?
Yep.
This is the same thing, man. You're hearing people every single day doing awesome things or trying to do awesome things or test themselves or whatever. And this is a brilliant opportunity for you to apply some of those things into your life so that you can start. Look, I mean, we all start somewhere, man. And a couple of years ago, I started at rock bottom in terms of running.
Mm-hmm.
It started fresh, and you can do the exact same thing in jujitsu or whatever else you want to do. It's just a matter of starting to figure that out and actually, taking steps towards it and doing it.
Yep. And I'd like, this is where, in my mind, this is what I've been doing, right? Because when I started jujitsu, I could have just not, right? I was still, again, in that mindset 5 years ago, I thought I was in pretty good shape. I know now I obviously wasn't at that point in time. I still not, but I could still, like, I did a workout this morning, whether it was intense, it was intense enough to get me sweating, and I have the things on my watch that tell me that it was in the cardio zone and stuff, which I still am studying and still trying to understand.
Mhm.
Is that your guy? And this is a quote that kind of bugged me a lot when I was actually in the army. I heard it all the time, but it was the old sergeant would be running along with the new troops and he would be outpacing them left, right, and center. And he'd be all like, "You guys are 19. You shouldn't be an issue." And I would always think to my head, but like, you've been running for 20 years. Like, you have the experience. You have all this knowledge. I haven't. So, or this guy hasn't, or that guy has. Like,
It's
to make
less
that
about the
comparison,
knowledge and it's more about the
experience.
conviction.
Well,
The conviction. You don't need to be a runner to beat me if you've got enough conviction.
I disagree with that.
All
Because,
right.
well, I mean, just in general, okay? You've been on a mountain bike for 20 plus or 15, 20 years, right? Something like that.
Yeah, over 20. Yeah.
Okay. I've been on a mountain bike for, I mean, I haven't been on my mountain bike in any serious fashion in over a decade. And regardless of my mindset, there is no way I'm going to beat you on a race.
Well, not too many can, but conviction will beat me if I don't have enough conviction. Why you were hearing that from a sergeant? Because he's been in the game long enough to have the conviction to sort out the gong show 19-year-olds that he's in charge of that don't have conviction yet because they can't spell it. So the experience isn't about the running. The experience is about the understanding of conviction, wisdom, knowledge, whatever you want to call it. That sergeant is a worse runner than Chance Burles, even though Chance Burles didn't know how to run, because that sergeant's all beaten up. But that sergeant ain't going to quit because he's got conviction. And he ain't going to fall out of his own run because he's got conviction. In fact, he's going to pick up the pace, not because he wants to, Chance Burles, but because he has to demonstrate conviction in order to raise up a young crew of people with conviction.
Conviction is one thing, but experience is requires experience. Like, it can't, if I have never run in my life and I hook up with Sach.
Again, I disagree. It's pedantic because the spirit of it is this. If I put a gun to your head, you'll do anything faster. If I put a gun to your head, you will work so hard that you'll vomit twice.
Sure.
That's conviction. That's called appropriate prioritization for the moment, for the required outcome. And so if you haven't vomited in the last 12 months, you don't know what you're capable of. You don't have the conviction to test your personal performance envelope because you haven't prioritized it as, what am I capable of? Now you're attending. You're not competing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this is great information for everybody, especially for me. But the even with a gun to my head, even with all
You're
that,
going to keep going back to it. I know.
I'm just saying that
You're
there's
just saying that people what?
Let's frame it this way. If I put a gun to your head, you'll probably be able to run 50K, even if it takes you 30 hours.
Sure.
It's going to happen.
Okay. Or not. Like my knees might give out. And like,
no.
Then you'll crawl.
You'll crawl.
Sure.
Unless you don't have conviction.
You will crawl.
And then when your knees wear out, you'll roll. And when you're tired of rolling, you'll put your thumb out on the side of a highway and hope to hook it in a tire. I mean, you'll do what it takes because there'll be enough priority to your head. But not enough people put enough priority in their head to go do the thing that they need to do to understand what they're capable of as a human being. And if someone isn't interested in seeing what they're capable of, then maybe just check it out for others. Do your best to demonstrate what you're capable of to show other humans that, guess what? You can actually test yourself more than once a year.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, you can test yourself all you want at any point in time. I definitely haven't been, and I definitely need to. So that's the start of it all. And then this is the other issue.
Is it the start though?
Is what the start?
Sorry, you said you definitely need to start. So is this the start of where you start testing yourself on a more regular basis, like i.e. every second day?
I don't know. I have to think about it. I got to process all this information. This is
so now we're just to the academic thoughts of checking that box. We've covered the subject and there's no outcome. There's no forward moving steps. There's no keeping someone accountable, because that's where it all falls apart. Eventually we get to this point, not you and me, everyone, where someone realizes, oh, that's right, I've been a slack ass. Well, that was a cool combo. See you next year.
Yeah.
This is the point where thoughts lead to action, and action requires deliverables. Deliverables require milestones. Milestones are not thoughts. So what's your next step, Chance Burles?
My next step today is working on my basement. I have a lot of work to do. So this is what I was going to get to the point of is, at what point do you prioritize the competition over the rest of your life? Because
number one for me.
What?
I prioritized everything as number one. What I do right now, competition is number one priority for me.
Okay.
Above all else.
Okay. And right now, like, so this is, I think, kind of a sticking point for a lot of people, is that there is life gets in the way.
If you let
Don't
it.
want to hear it.
So and I don't mean it's an excuse. It was simple. Like, not for me.
It was
I just
simple.
Mean, okay.
No, it was simple. We're now at the point where everyone gets to. I don't want to hear another thing other than what's your next step?
My next step is to find some place that I can test myself in.
Good.
Find something to test myself in.
Check.
Yeah.
ASAP. And then what is the frequency of your testing?
It'll have to be more than what it is.
Which is going to be what? I don't want to hear the academic intellectual guesswork. Let's get right to brass tacks. It's called deliverables. It's called actions. No more thoughts. Okay. How often are you going to test yourself?
I'm going to go, off a whim, I'd say once a month.
That's a lot better than once a year. So you're going to test yourself at least once a month on something that is so challenging that you'll understand your performance envelope limits.
Yes. I got to figure out what those are. And
well, there's a whole lot of things that have got to be figured out between now and then, but at least we've got you maybe moving in a direction that actually aligns with action.
That's that is the way, I guess, towards action.
It is as of about 30 seconds ago.
I love it.
Well, think of it this way, man. In 2 years or 3 years, you could be running across Canada with me. That's all it takes, man. A little bit of conviction.
That's right.
Yeah, but I don't really want to run across Canada.
Hey,
You don't even know what you
Either
want.
do I.
Yeah, dude, you don't even know what you want. You haven't even sat down with that piece of paper yet and thought, what do I want to challenge myself with?
That's true.
That's an entire different box breathing, Shaun. There are so many things going on here right now.
I love it. We are at an hour though, and I do appreciate the chat. This is a mind.
You're never gonna invite me on again, man.
No, it's all good. This is as a stand-in for the larger population of the world, right? I don't mind being the focus point, because there is a lot of information that you guys just passed on. There's a lot of outstanding concepts for the rest of the world to learn from, not just me, right? I get to learn this. I get to evolve through it. I get to figure out myself better, but so does everybody else, because you guys are asking the question, you guys are making the statements, I'm making the arguments based off of my concept of the world. Now that's been changed. So this is a good thing, right? It's not a, I don't look at it as, me getting beat up or me getting picked on. This is good information from two solid competitors that have years of experience against the concepts that I have come up with very little experience. So I look at this as a win.
That's the right attitude, Chance Bros. That is literally the comment of the day that you just made. And
comment of the day.
But the competition isn't over yet, so you're right to take that tact. It's beautiful. And you are the everyman. You are the everyday man to some degree. There's nothing special about you. There's nothing special about me or Sach. None of us are special. We're just running our lives in a different way. And it illustrates that there's better ways to run your life than the way Chance Bros has been running his life in respect to competition. Mm-hmm. When it comes to horses or freaking working on a basement, whatever Chance Bros has got going on that he's better than everyone else at, well, we can talk about those things at another time. But right now we're talking about competing. Mm-hmm. And you're either not Chance Bros. The internet is either in the game or you're not in the game. Get in the game. The game is not called attending. The game is not called thinking. The game is action-oriented, where you push your personal performance envelope to understand what your limitations are so that you can expand them week after week, decade after decade. That's how we get better, by pushing ourselves, understanding our limitations, and then adapting. I wish more people would do it.
Indeed. Sach, any final thoughts before we shut her down?
No, man. Just thanks for letting me jump in here and have have a bit of fun with you. It's always fun talking to you guys, so thank you.
Our pleasure having you. Honestly, it's always good to have a cold eye review, right? And I needed a cold eye review from the two of you guys. So this is awesome. And as I learn to build myself and grow as a human being, we can all learn about ourselves and build and grow here on The Collective. See y'all tomorrow. Chimo.
Chibo.